Hi, Tosh.
Hi, Jeanie.
Okay, so we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics today, which is music, specifically wedding ceremony music. And I don't believe, it's so weird. I don't think you and I ever really spoke about this. So what did you do?
For my ceremony music? So we did talk about this because I remember this conversation. I got married in the church and I had, this is a little bit of a funny story. I'll make it quick. I had this idea of walking down the aisle to Bittersweet Symphony. And
Wait, from Cruel Intentions?
I don't know, but Bittersweet Symphony.
Okay, I know what that song is.
Very dramatic song.
I know exactly.
Okay.
A lot of violins.
Dun, dun,
yes.
dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God.
And
Who do you think you are?
Exactly. So I texted that to my very good friend that lives in LA, and she immediately texted me back going, I don't know who you think you are. Like, are you some queen coming down the aisle? Like, what is going on? Why the drama? Just get married already, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then I found out shortly after that the church gave me a very short list of songs to choose from. Mm-hmm. They all had to be, religion based, basically. And they weren't too open to anything outside of the list. Mm-hmm. But
sounds about right.
Another friend had suggested that we use the prayer. Mm-hmm. And so
Josh Groban.
Well, I really don't remember. I think it was like Celine Dion and
Andrea Bocelli. Yeah. Yep.
So they suggested, or a friend suggested it. I got it approved by the church. And what we did was we had my late brother-in-law and my very close friend Natalie sing it. Mm-hmm. So they were just very meaningful people to us, and it only made sense that they sang it together. Mm-hmm. So we have that forever. That was during the unity candle lighting, but then coming down the aisle, I actually had a friend play her flute to Ave Maria. So we really did use our resources.
You did.
And bring in.
You did.
That's right.
It's so important. I have a girlfriend that's getting married in a year from now, and I think it's just about a year from now, and she is using her grandfather played violin. She's having somebody, her late grandfather, she's having somebody use his violin. And,
because it has a particular sound to it.
It has a particular sound to it, and also the sentiment behind it. And that's one of the most important key features to her about her wedding ceremony music. And when she told me that, I said, that's so special that someone's actually using your grandfather's violin.
Wow.
And she goes, I'm just having that for my procession, for when I walk down the aisle. Someone's just going to play on the violin for me.
I'm tearing up. Emotional.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
Music is so emotional. It really just touches you and brings out targets memories, and
it's a forever thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what was the song that you walked down the aisle to? What was the song that this is forever?
That's right.
What did you guys do?
So
you got married in the church.
Yes. So a couple things I never spoke about in this podcast. So one of my I guess you could say my other talents, I sing, and I've been singing. As long as I can remember, since I'm 5 years old. And around age 14, I got involved with singing I'm Catholic, so I got involved in singing in the Catholic Church. And music was it was the thing for me. So when I got married, I have a lot of great resources, thankfully, from singing at people's weddings over the years and being invited to sing at other churches for couples' wedding ceremonies. I was able to be hooked up with these amazingly talented musicians. So I had a really great ensemble. I had a cellist, a violinist, I had a flute, I had a piano player, a beautiful baby grand. Yeah. And I have to be honest and say that it exceeded my expectations, what they did, the sound that they produced, and me going down that aisle. And people talk about it to this day. I sound like I'm bragging. I swear, listeners, I'm not bragging. I'm just being honest. It was just something that is so memorable to me. And it left such an impression that I said, wow, I wish I could give this to somebody else getting married. And I always wanted to start to generate some kind of organization or company where I could be part of producing music for couples when they're going down the aisle, when they're having that special moment. Because for me, when I think about my ceremony, I always go back to that moment. I always hear that music.
So today is actually quite an exciting day because Jeanie is hosting, and she's also our guest.
I invited myself to the party.
But she's not alone. She has a couple of incredibly talented people here that she's going to introduce.
Okay, so this is my very, very good friend. How many years are we friends?
We met when we were freshmen in high school, so I guess
Ew, don't say it.
22 years now.
Oh my God.
I know.
Miss Kristen Kelber
Hi.
and our great friend
Mike Padness.
and guitarist. So Chris and I have been singing together, friends for 22 years. And is it basically singing together for 22 years? Because we started singing pretty much instantly together.
Well, we met in our high school chorus. So yeah, it's freshman year. So it's been the same amount of time.
We met in homeroom, actually.
Homeroom.
I was poking her, and I insisted that she speak to me. I was literally poking
That's
her.
how we met. You
Yeah.
sat behind me. I was very, very shy, and obviously Jeanie was not. And she kept poking me to talk, and I'd give her like one-word answers. And then I would quickly turn around, and she wouldn't have that. So eventually, we became best friends.
That's fantastic.
That's literally what happened.
So
Okay.
you guys met in high school poking, and how did the discovery come of I'm a singer, you're a singer, want to sing together?
So actually, our homeroom was choir, the chorus homeroom. So we knew we were both singers. And then we went out for our for the show, which was Anything Goes. We went out for the same part. Do you remember this?
I do remember this. Yeah.
We were both excited. Jeanie.
I never really heard you sing
Right.
until
and
you
I
auditioned.
didn't, exactly. Same. And then I think we both kind of developed mutual respect for each other, like musically. Jean got the part.
Aww.
I was
I'm shorter. That's why. We
No,
say it's because of height.
Well, I tried to convince myself of that. No, but so I was a little upset, but then obviously like we just became very good friends.
Subsequently, there was so many other shows that throughout the years that we'd be in together.
So in regard to, I hate to I want to go right to weddings and how your music and you guys found each other. You discovered that you both sing, you are respecting each other's talent. And you sang together throughout the years, but then more recently, you've decided to take this to another level. And like you said, you wanted to share this profound experience that you had coming down the aisle. You wanted to take this into other couples. So, to share this. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the impetus for putting this out, how this happened, what you do. And I want, and we'll take it from there.
So it was about 2 years ago, and I had brought this idea up to Kristen. And, in life, they just say, like, great idea, bad timing, or meant to be, bad timing, whatever that case is. And I think that's really where that was going. It just wasn't the right time in our lives for various reasons. But we both knew that we wanted to come together and create a business where we could give this musical experience, produce music, and give this to other couples. So that's really what happened. We just never let the idea go. We put it up on a shelf for a bit. And then it was the right timing one day. And I just called her up and I said, I think that we really need to talk more seriously about this. So the first thing that we decided to do is come up with a name for the company. And I remember driving one day and I was like, I just want this to be as organic and as real and as natural as possible. I'm all about just, putting myself out there in a very natural way. And when I sing from my heart. I sing from my soul. And I know that Kristen feels and does the same. And that feeling that we get when we get to sing to people, for people, we kind of both understand that. That's like a bond that we have. So this word soul just kept like replaying in my head. And I remember I called her up and I said, hey, Chris. And she goes, wait, before you say anything, can we just like somehow incorporate the word soul into our company
crazy.
name?
Soulmates.
And I was like, yes. And I was like, because I feel like we sing from our soul and we try to kind of almost reach people, touch people's hearts. Like that's the idea. And then some jerk one day was like, soul music? And I was like, no, it's not soul music. But this is the impetus behind it. This is the reason behind why we came up with the name Beyond Soul Music. So that's the name of our company. And our goal is to produce beautiful music, beautiful ensembles for couples and sort of cover songs, really put different twists on them. We've really been harmonizing together now since really professionally since we were 15 years old. So we've been honing this craft for a while and we love to listen to songs and to cover them, but to kind of just make them a little bit unique if we possibly can do that. And I think that's what really is going to make Beyond Soul Music stand out. And I think another really important factor that we've been considering is we have so many great connections with so many talented musicians over the years. So just reaching out to these people and telling them about what we're doing, I was surprised at all the feedback that we got, how insanely positive it was and how many people wanted to be a part of this experience with us.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you really have never stopped singing. Since I've known you, you have multiple things going on. I mean, you not only work in the wedding industry, but you are always singing for weddings and funerals and at the church and constantly learning new music and on a dime. Like you're given the music shortly before and then you're like, I have to learn this music for this wedding coming up, and you're up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same situation for you?
Yeah,
Kristen?
it's the exact same situation for me. And I think at this point, we want to create something that we're doing this for ourselves.
Expand on it.
And expand on it.
And own it.
And own it. Yeah, I feel like it's always for someone else, but now Beyond Soul music is ours, and we could have like so much passion.
Control, and we can have
passion,
control over
yeah.
it. You know, the thing about singing, you know, I mentioned earlier that I'm Catholic, so a lot of our experience is based in Catholic ceremonies. Although I have many times worked with, you know, it's non-secular and secular ceremonies. I've gone to venues before. But not having the proper equipment, not having the tools that we need to really bring this to really make this as successful as we possibly can, to not, you know, to just walk in blindsided and never having worked with a certain musician before or a group of musicians. That's not setting yourself up for any type of success at all. So really, just this business gives us that opportunity to have complete control over situations such as that, where we have our own equipment. We can do a sound check. We can do rehearsals in advance. And we really have that vision. We know what we want to bring to life, and now we're able to do it. And that's always been, I think, what's paralyzed me personally. I'm just like hearing something and just or knowing, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done this better for them. Like, how can I put myself in a position where I can really do this right and do this really great for them?
What we want to do with Beyond Soul music is kind of take all the pressure off the bride, and we would deal with that. We would talk, we would contact the church, we would coordinate all that. We would talk to the venue, we would bring our own microphone, our own sound system if the venue or the church didn't have it. So that's everything that we would do. So logistically, we talk to the
that sounds wonderful.
The space. So the brides don't want, or the couple, they don't want to have to worry about that.
That's wonderful, because the music that was sent to me for my wedding, I started to just immediately Google, and I was like, oh no, like I couldn't possibly use this. This is like terrible. And so where you guys actually have demos of your work where you can immediately hear it, you hear it in your voices. You have a very angelic voice, and you add this amazing layer of, you have this also very sweet angelic voice, but you have like a depth to it as well. And together your harmonies are so pretty. So pretty. You take a song to a different level.
Thanks, Tosh.
So for somebody listening as a couple, where do you start? Let's cover both secular and non-secular. Is it different? Is it the same process? What happens? They call you, and then what?
Right. I guess I'll talk about the non-secular situation. So the one misconception I've run into a lot over the years is so many brides will really have a song that's near and dear to their hearts. They want something very specifically, or grooms, or, you know, couples, they want something very specifically lined up for them in terms of music. And the issue with the Catholic churches is sometimes it's things are either permissible or not permissible, right? Liturgical or not liturgical. And that really all depends on the church that you're getting married in. So it's really not realistic as a couple to kind of expect that you'd be able to necessarily have all of these songs sang for you or performed for you, unfortunately. So what we try to do is we're sort of that, I guess you could say, that mediator, that middle person, where we could call up the church, speak to the music director there, and we could find out what is allowed and what is not allowed, right? And we could take that information back to the bride or to the groom, to the couple, and we can let them know. From there, we can curate a really, really nice music lineup for them. It may not exactly be what they had in mind, and that's always what I try to explain to couples. Like, let's just take it from here first. Like, before we talk about anything specific, let's find out what we can actually work with. Because, like I said, some churches are strict. We take that information to the couple, and we can curate a lineup for them that I've in my experience, the couples have always been thrilled in the end. So in other words,
it saves so much time.
It's
having
true.
Somebody narrow it down for you.
I've actually taken very liturgical music, which is beautiful in its own right, but I've twisted it a bit. I've given it like a poppy sound. And suddenly it kind of became like a different song for them. And that made them really happy. Like, they were able to experience sort of a different dynamic to that song. And that's the compromise that I'm able to give couples. You know, we love putting that pop twist on things. Classical too is a huge part of what we do and kind of mixing them together. So that in terms of things being, you know, in terms of the non-secular situation, that's the biggest misconception. Also, you know, you don't know what you're walking into in terms of the sound system sometimes in the churches. So again, going back to our own equipment and having control over that, it's great that we get to the church early and set up and do that check.
Yeah, even a week or two in advance. Like, we really prepare for every single wedding so we know what we're walking into.
Mm-hmm. Do you amplify yourselves?
Yes, we'll always have microphones.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
So
unless it's a very small space with great acoustics, but for the most part,
you
we'll
always
always have
to amplify.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So let's talk about secular weddings. You know, a wedding that's taking place on site at a venue. And how does this work? You're walking into possibly an outdoor space. Walk us through this, if you can.
Yeah, so if that's the case, that's when you really have to coordinate with the venue and see what equipment they have available. And if a lot of them do have the proper equipment, sound systems, microphones, but if they don't, we do have all of that and we will provide that. We get there early, we do a sound check, we have mixing boxes.
We've gone there sometimes 2 weeks in advance just to like talk to them and be sure that things would pan out fine. So, but I feel like the secular situations are a little bit easier for me than working sometimes with non-secular, just because of there's no what's the word that I'm looking for? Barrier in terms of what you're allowed to sing necessarily and not to sing. So in that respect, it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's great because then we could really personalize it to what's meaningful to the couple. They pick the songs that they want. If it has a special...
It gets super creative,
Yeah, it gets really creative because this is what they're going to remember. Going, just how you said, this is what you remember. And I feel like a lot of couples... It's underrated, the ceremony. They're so focused on the reception and everything that's after, but what people are hyper focused on is when you're walking down the aisle, and that's what's so lasting, and that's what has, I feel like, the most meaning.
That's why I wanted to make this situation for us very niche, where we're specifically focusing on that ceremony moment, because you're right, it's so memorable, and how important is the music that you're hearing when you're walking towards that person that you love. So
yeah, and we want to make it unique to each couple, not just the run-of-the-mill ceremony. We want everyone to
have their own experience,
musical experience.
With us.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very short list. It seems to it because I watch a lot of wedding videos, and you know, I'm very familiar with what's out there right now. And I feel like it's a very short list of the songs that are being chosen to walk down the aisle to.
That's exactly right. It's super
like the same 5 songs.
It's super standardized, and it doesn't need to be. And it's like you go to one, you're like, oh, I've heard this already. And that's what we don't want. We want this experience to be completely different and personal. And you're right. That's exactly what it is.
Unique to the bride in this moment where it's connected.
Even the song that we decided to sing for you guys today was a song that we had done at a wedding a month ago, where this bride, this is what she wanted for her song, her procession, when she was walking down the aisle. And it meant something to her, and it meant something to her grandmother. So these are the things that we hear all the time. Specific songs mean something to you for a reason. Sometimes it's not even about the lyrics per se. It's just the song. So we hear this a lot. And I love hearing things like that. Kristen loves hearing things like that, because then that gives us an opportunity to deliver something to somebody.
Yeah, and I think actually that's where we're different. You'll see a lot of musicians who just don't want to take the time to learn new songs, or they have their own list. But I feel like we love that challenge, and we want to make it so special. So we jump on that. If someone gives us a song request, like, we will go the extra mile to make it our own, to create the harmonies.
I literally get off the phone with couples sometimes smiling, because I'm like, oh my God, like,
when it's a special request.
We just had this amazing request. Like, I can't wait to sing this for them.
But that's different, because a lot of people don't want to do that, or don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit collaborative.
Totally.
With the client. Now, what about musicians? Let's say, because I would assume I've attended weddings where there are 5 musicians, 3 musicians, 2 musicians, no musicians.
Yep.
We had no musicians. We used the organist in the church
Mhm.
to accompany
Sounds right. Yeah.
our two singers that were very close to us. So what is this scenario on and off site, secular and non-secular?
Well, first, let me just say that another thing I wanted to add, because by you saying that, Tasha, it reminded me, some couples don't know that these options are out there for them. They get married in a church and they just assume, okay, this is the music that I have to use, or that I this is what I have to do. But we're here to let people know that there's so many other options for you. Yes, granted, if you're getting married in a church, we may not be able to be as creative for you as we'd like to be in terms of the songs chosen. However, we can take any type of liturgical song and we can make it as creative as we possibly can, and it will be absolutely stunning. So the thing about, just letting couples know that they have that, that option, that it's out there to make your moments more memorable is super important for us, for Beyond Soul. Now, you asked about the process. So, for us, it is a collaborative process. Couples will reach out to us through our website. We're going to have a personal meeting with them because this is a very personal experience, so come meet us in person. We could do this virtually. But I want to talk to them about who they are and what their musical vision is, what songs are important to you. That's my first question to them, though. Where are you getting married? Is this going to be in a church? Is this going to be at a venue? Now that we've established what we can, how we're going to approach this for you. If it's at a church, from there, I would let them know, okay, I'm going to call up your church. I'm going to speak to the music director at the church. I'm going to find out, what we can play with in terms of music, in terms of songs. And then we'll have another meeting. We'll have another call. I'll get back to them, and we take it from there. So if we have more free range, they can let us know, we really we loved this song for coming down the aisle. And then from there, we'd be able to give them advice on how many musicians they might need for that song. Oh, I think that would sound really good with a violin and a piano. Would you be open to something like that?
Okay.
If you want to add in more strings, do you want to maybe use acoustic guitar for something really cool like that? So we'll advise them on the types of instruments that we think would pair well with
based
their
on the song choice. Or if they're not completely sure what song they want, but they have a vision that they want all strings, then we could provide that and help them, guide them on appropriate song choices. So it's like a very flexible process. If they know the sound they want, we go with them. But we have a huge roster of musicians that really could fit any type whatever of a couple wants. For sure. Yeah.
Something else that I found very interesting that I've learned over the years, couples will often tell me, I really want this song being played only for when my grandparents walk down. I want this song being played for when my bridal party walks down. So they have very specific, which happens constantly in secular and non-secular ceremonies. So what I've seen over the years is limo drivers, random attendants, just kind of really just parading people down the aisle, not being aware that this person's not walking down to the song that the couple wanted them to walk down to.
Which is a huge thing, coordination. And I think that's one thing that Beyond Soul Music does. We take the time.
It's all about timing and coordination.
It's all about timing and coordination and just making the process flow, eliminating any stress so people know exactly when to walk, to what part of the song.
So does this mean you attend the couple's rehearsal, or that's an option?
It means that once we have their lineup from them, their music lineup, once we've together arranged and organized and settled this, which will be typically way in advance, although, by the way, couples can always make tweaks and changes, we will have a music attendant the day of. That will be the person that's very in tune to our music lineup between us and the couple, and they'll be guiding the procession down the aisle.
And beforehand, we get the list of anybody in the bridal party, the bridesmaids, the groomsmaid, anyone in the wedding party. We have that list
from the couple.
So we prepare ahead of time. We know when everyone is supposed to process.
Our goal is having everything settled 4 weeks before the wedding at latest. So this way there's no stress. The couple has to think about nothing.
You have the time to rehearse as well and be.
We're constantly rehearsing.
That's right.
We're rehearsing throughout that whole year. Like the minute they speak to us and we have our consultation, we're working on the song for literally a whole year or year and a half, whenever their wedding is. So we're constantly working on this.
And Mike, you have a great position. So Mike, he is the guitarist here.
Yep.
Mike has a cool position because yours is fully creative, right? You're sent a list of songs that that are being prepared for the day, and then what's the process there? Do you obviously you go over them together, but do you guys have an opportunity to rehearse with the musicians prior to the day?
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We're always in constant communication with one another. The minute that we settle on a lineup with a couple, which again is typically we're a year out from a wedding, we'll communicate with a couple within a few weeks that they kind of have an idea of what they want. We right away, we start gathering sheet music. We start having rehearsals that the couples don't even know about, really.
Sure.
It's
They
behind
just know
the
they
scenes.
want it to go off like a,
There's
what do you
a lot
say, like a hitch in a hitch. What's the phrase? They want it to go off seamlessly and perfect, right?
Right. And they don't even know the process that goes behind everything. Yeah. As you said, gathering the sheet music, making sure that we're in
We
the
have
right
the correct
key signature,
signatures.
that the parts align based on the instruments.
Sometimes we have to write parts for other musicians
Sure.
that are not part of the music, which
To
is
write them in.
a whole other process as well. But what you put in is what you get out. I've always believed that. So we just have to be really, diligent and serious about what it is that we're doing. Otherwise, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be how we had envisioned it to be.
And they're definitely perfectionists. I've worked with them, and just to get that harmony just right, like they're really on top of it. So it's really impressive to work with
I think
them.
we drive Mike a little crazy.
I know. We were like, we're 0.5 milliseconds off. We need to do it again, the whole
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
But that's where the art comes in. Really, is
Yeah.
There was
really
too
get
much of
real
a
with
breath
each
there.
other.
Yeah.
now.
Like they're just gazing into each other's eyes. I mean, it's,
Oh,
it's like,
But we're not actually gazing in each other's eyes. We're actually looking at each other's mouths because there's a lot that goes into singing together. We need to
harmonizing.
make sure our vowels are correct. We have good cutoffs, that our timing is in sync. So a lot goes in.
My
into
husband was
it.
like, is there something going on that I don't know about? When he saw a video
Well,
of us
I
singing.
just love the fact, I'm obsessed with your accent, Jeanie.
Yeah,
and now, as obviously, you also grew up in Staten Island because
I
now I'm
did.
obsessed with your accent. And
I
then
did.
I don't hear yours.
So I went to school
I
in
don't hear
Pennsylvania. Actually, we went to the same college, Mike and I, but at
Yeah.
10
yeah,
years
it's 8 years.
different?
9
So
years.
I lost my Staten Island accent.
Oh, no,
for-
you did not.
No, you definitely
I did, but it has crept back in. It is creeped back in.
But the
Slowly but surely.
The amazing thing is when you sing, it's all, this is where your training comes in because it's completely dropped.
Exactly, and that's all based on the vowels
Yeah.
and not singing diphthongs. It's all very technical
It is
that
technical.
the brides, or I'm sorry, I keep saying bride, but couples don't realize
That's right.
the technicalities
I
between
know.
the vocals.
I'm always staring at your mouth, and I'm like, "This is business, people. Business."
That's so
Okay?
true.
So wait, Mike, so you bring a new sound element to what's going on because you're a guitarist. So when you think about ceremony music, for me, and maybe this is just my narrow mind, I always envision like a harp or a string quartet. But a guitarist, like this brings in this totally new type of sound that's very mellow, very beautiful, very romantic. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I guess I'm just here to be the backing for these
Aw.
beautiful voices. So we work together, put together an arrangement, and just kind of work off of them. And I guess it is like a slightly different vibe. I mean, you're so used to the ceremony; it's that very classical feel to it. But there's other opportunities to do a little something different, whether
Very
it's a little bit
romantic guitar
jazzy, a
music.
little bit more, even if we want to do a little bit more rock type style stuff, I think that could actually play well as well.
Play into it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's actually break and listen to you guys. Do you mind singing and playing with them?
Yeah, we can
Sure.
do that.
Let's do it.
Perfect.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I hear babies cry. I watch them grow, and they'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow rainbows so pretty in the sky are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? But they're really saying, I love you. I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Wow, you guys are. This is exactly what I was talking about, the harmony. You take things to such a specific place that I would never have thought about. I'm going to have that in my head all day. So that was amazing. And I loved the acoustic guitar.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It was exactly what I thought. Like it brought this whole vibe.
It's very
going on.
clean. Yeah.
Very clean.
And very raw. Mm-hmm.
So, what does something like this cost? I have to get to it because people are listening. Everything comes down to budget with a
Mhm.
wedding. So can people afford you? Is this like an arm and a leg, or
Mhm.
what would be like a starting price? And then what's like, you want the works, and what can it go up to?
Sure. So we've created packages that sort of organize what it is that we do, but they're very customizable. Usually starting prices around anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 range, depending on the type of ensemble that you want and how many songs you like, how long is the ceremony. A lot of different factors go into this. And, that all that can really be determined when we chat with the couple and we really find out what this ceremony is going to entail, what it is that they're looking for.
I think that's really reasonable for, you look at your wedding for different purposes, and entertainment is something that comes up all
Mhm.
the time. And entertainment is because it makes you feel something.
Mhm.
So this is that moment that you were talking about. When you think of your wedding day, this is the one that pops out and really jumps out at you emotionally.
Mhm.
So having this, I think that's really reasonable to have this remarkable moment that not only you will take throughout your life, but everybody there has this chilling experience.
Right. The value behind it is there.
To connect through music, like you said.
That's
so I think
right.
that's great.
That's right.
How do people find you? I mean, Jeanie, you're here, so
Mhm.
but how do they find you and get you?
Okay, so we have a website. It's beyondsoulmusic.com. And for social media, we're on Instagram. We have a YouTube page, and we actually just set up a SoundCloud page, so people could go there and kind of listen to short clips in our songs out there,
exciting.
so they
Yeah.
could get a better sense of.
Any events that we're going to be doing, we're just going to be immediately uploading and sharing our content out there. So there's going to be new stuff constantly.
And YouTube, does this mean that we get to see you guys? This is a video?
Yeah.
For grandma over here.
Is this? Do I press play? Honey, where's my CD?
So we can watch you guys stare at each other's mouths.
Yeah,
Because everybody's
exactly.
wondering. They're like, what exactly is this?
What does it
doing
look like?
going on
I
here?
going on? So
Yeah,
all right.
different videos from different gigs that we'll do, or even just short rehearsals.
Mhm.
Just a lot of raw footage too.
Yeah.
Us like messing around and.
And your
I
social
love-
media is Beyond Soul Music. Beyond Soul Music. What's your social media? What is
Beyond
it?
Soul Music for Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I love being able to post the rehearsals. I think it's important for people to see what goes on behind it, even more so sometimes in the events. So
you gain respect for all the behind the scenes, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you, Kristen. and
Yes,
Mike,
thank you
and
so much for
thank you,
having
Jeanie.
us.
Thank you. Me. Thank you for listening to this episode of So You're Engaged, Now What? If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen. It really helps us grow.
If you'd like to reach out with any questions or suggestions, please email our team at podcast@livepicturestudios.com.
This podcast is hosted by Jeannie Sigari and Natasha Sherritt-Lacari. It is produced by Jeannie, Natasha, Nicole Palmetti, and Christiana Cremo.
It's been edited by Crizel Peniquito and Nicole Palmetti. Artwork has been created by Joe Nunez. Music has been supplied by Ian Post and Artlist.io.
And this podcast is brought to you by K-Vibe Studios. Until next time, bye and happy planning.